Welcome to Careers for the Planet. In today's episode, it's my pleasure to host Margherita Pinardi from our own the Earth Foundation team. Her current role is program manager, and she is actually the team member that has been with the Earth Foundation the longest. So if there is a question, she's probably the one that I'm reaching out to find out the answer. Um, and I'm very excited that we have this section of Careers for the Planet where we get to talk to you guys and actually present ourselves a little bit better. So there is more to come, and we'll try to give every team member a little slot so you can get to know us a little bit better as well and see what our journey was. So without further ado, Margarita, the floor is yours. Take
Yes.
it away.
Okay. Thank you so much, Magda, for this kind introduction. I just want to start with saying that I don't know why, but I feel a bit stressed. It's been a while that I haven't been presenting for the foundation or doing something similar. So if I'm a bit stressed, please, I apologize in advance, but I hope that I'm gonna have so much fun with you guys. And I'm gonna give some space maybe to ask questions during the presentation because I will present something a bit more technical and about the law of the sea. So in case you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or write something in the chat, and we can answer some questions if there are any during the presentation, or we can leave this space at the end. But otherwise, thank you so much for coming and welcome everyone. Today I'm gonna talk mainly about the ocean, and I hope to inspire you at least a little bit and learn a bit more how we can address different paths and patterns to build a career that is not strictly STEM, but it can address humanities, social sciences, education, and in my case, law and regulations for the protection of the marine environment or for the protection of the planet in general. I am, of course, Margherita Pinardi. I'm Italian. I travel a little bit, but currently I'm based in Italy, and officially I am the program manager for the Earth Foundation since, no, I mean, I started as an intern, but at the moment I'm the program manager. But I've been working for the foundation for the past 3 years at the moment. But let's start. Welcome. I'm gonna give a brief introduction and I hope funny introduction about myself, trying to explain later why and how law and advocacy can actually protect the ocean, which is the protagonist of this presentation. Why this happens through ocean rights and rights of nature, which is an emerging concept and paradigm in international law. And through this, you will see how you can actually build a different track to create your own career for sustainability, environmental protection that does not entirely require STEM knowledge. Because, for example, I'm completely terrible in math, sciences, economics. I really cannot do that, but I'm here today. So somehow I managed to create my own career. And then why I decided, and I love to work for the Earth Foundation. So without further ado, let's start. This is me. I wanted to break the wall around the Earth Foundation team. I'm a normal human being. I love traveling, as you can see from the very young age. These pictures have been taken from my parents, my friends, since my early age. I spent my childhood, especially the summer, by the sea, camping in the Mediterranean countries, Spain, France, of course, Italy, as I'm Italian. My parents wanted to get me closer to biodiversity and animals in very weird ways, like letting me sleep with a giant lizard, for example. But otherwise, I love traveling, meeting new people, learning about cultures, and just learn about anything that it's different from my comfort zone. I love to try new things, try new food, despite I'm Italian, so that's a big thing. And otherwise, I would say that I love the fact that sometimes my brain is full capacity and it sometimes feels tired from all the information that I got in one day. But these kinds of days, I know that I've done my best to understand what is going on around myself. And every time I learn something new, I'm just happy. So I started from the Mediterranean because I was born in Italy, but then I moved to the opposite, above the Arctic Circle, and I just spent a whole year in above the Arctic Circle in Tromsø, in a small city in Norway, because I decided that I wanted to learn more about the ocean, about law of the sea, the law of the sea. While of course I kept working for the foundation. So as you can see, I decided just to move out, learn more about the sea, learn something completely different out of my comfort zone. But I've placed here a nice picture with my doggy because I also love my roots and my family and my doggy. And yeah, I just wanted to keep it here. This is a funny picture of me in Svalbard with the sign of polar bears, and I'm gonna tell more about this later on. But yeah, this is an overall framework of myself. Let's start now on how law and advocacy can actually protect the ocean. This is very important because from the very beginning of the presentation, I would like to announce, state, and remind you that anything that we have now has to go through governments, policymakers, and everything related to the protection of the environment, of the ocean, of nature, animals, biodiversity comes through politicians, governments, and people that are at the head of the states. So if we don't cooperate, if we are not within these places, then it's really impossible for us to make a change and to defend the ocean and to defend nature. So we need to be there to make something tangible happens. And I'm gonna go through it later on. But going a little bit throughout my career and my academic path, I have a background in my bachelor's in political sciences and international law. And this first picture, top left, is a very traditional moment in Italy where you celebrate your graduation day. This was specifically my first master's degree in international relations. So I have a background in international relations. During my master's degree, I was also working for an association in Italy, let's say, which was a mediator between the European Union and fishermen in Italy. So it was extremely cool and interesting to see both sides. One day I was literally in the Mediterranean Sea looking at the fishermen that they were showing me the problem of climate change, the problem of overexploitation of the fish stock. And the next month, I was in Brussels following the fisheries committee to understand how the European Union was responding actually to this actual problem that, I don't know, a fisherman in Sicily was actually experiencing. So it's always very nice to see how local problems makes it to the very top, in this case the European Union. But it's so important to understand how local people that really experience what is going on with climate change, with the changing in the sea, are the ones that should be represented in these huge buildings where we have politicians. So it was extremely interesting to see these both sides. Then once graduated, I moved to Geneva for my internship at the United Nations Environment Program. In this case, I focused on always on the oceans, but it was more about the sound management of microplastics, waste, marine littering, especially in the oceans. And I was supporting my supervisor with some projects around the world to prevent the release of microplastics in the sea, for example. And again, in this case, I think what really astonished me the most is that, yes, I was working within the United Nations, but at the same time, I was meeting very local people, very local realities that you could actually make a difference in a school, in a small hotel in Kenya, for example, helping them substituting the dishwashers and the washing machines to prevent microplastic release. Then I decided to, well, my internship at the United Nations ended and I was hired by the Earth Foundation. And I think not just because Peter is here, but it's been a lot of fun and I learned very much. But I wanted to do something more tangible because again, I think that you can do a lot, but then when you're close to people, then you can do even more. So for example, working for a not-for-profit, I thought that in that moment was the right thing for me. So I decided to apply for the Earth Foundation and the rest is history. But at the same time, I kept a foot, within the United Nations because I'm a youth delegate for the Chemical and Waste Youth Platform at the UN. And for example, I have attended the conference last year for the Basel, Stockholm, and Rotterdam conventions dealing exactly with sound management of hazardous waste. So this is very quickly, I hope, my overview of my career and my academic path. So what am I doing at the moment? As I said, since last year, 2025, I decided to start a new master's, which is in the law of the sea in Tromsø, in the north of the world in Norway, working part-time for the Earth Foundation. So what I do now with my research, with my academic background, at the moment, I'm writing my thesis, so I'm towards the end. It's not been the easiest, especially when it's summer and you just want to enjoy nature and relax, but it's coming to an end. So I hope it's going to be a nice outcome. But what have I done this year? Many, many things. This master's, it's been an explosion of experiences and adventures. I've learned a lot about the law of the sea, which is a branch of international law dealing with any aspects related to the sea. So you can think of anything related to the sea, from trade, shipping, environmental protection, conflict as well. Anything that regards the sea is under the branch of the law of the sea subject. So in this year, I've learned that there is a huge convention, which is the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the Montego Bay Convention. It is named as the Constitution of the Sea because it really covers every aspect. And what I learned about this convention is that it is very easy to misinterpret it or interpret it very differently. And this is part of my research. This year, it's been, an explosion of events, adventures, and experiences in Norway, but actually around the world, because these masters open a lot of opportunities to learn more about the sea, for example. And as I was saying, I went to Korea to present my research about whaling under international environmental law. And or I went to Svalbard, these two pictures on the side, me in a in a mining cave, and completely stood up for addressing the coast of Svalbard, which is a small island, not that small, but it's an island in the very north of the world, so around the North Cap, under Norwegian sovereignty. And it's a specific, very interesting case study regarding the law of the sea and the fishery zone around those islands, and the implementation of Norwegian rules for the protection of those areas from overexploitation and overfishing, for example. So this is what I've been doing now for the past year. But essentially, as I mentioned before, my research is mostly at the moment for my thesis, and it's about rights of nature and ocean rights. Rights of nature, it is a very interesting, but a bit of a standalone concept in international environmental law, because it is not emerging. It is well confirmed and studied by scholars. However, it is not completely accepted, and it is subjected by a lot of criticism from scholars and doctrine, because it is quite different from the existing international legal regime existing now, the dominant one. But that's why I wanted to study it, and I wanted to make more research about it, because it gives you a lateral perspective. It gives you like an outsider perspective on the world that we are living now. And these are some of the questions addressed during from this doctrine. For example, does nature hold rights? A topic that it's very emerging now at the domestic level and slowly in the international approach is the whale's rights to life, for example. There are many countries and states that have already recognized some entitlements and some rights to some natural entities, such as in Spain, Mar Menor, which is a specific bay, was recognized as a legal subject. So it means that it has actual legal rights protected by Spain and the Constitution. And this is one of the questions that I started with when I started to work on my research. So, for example, can the Atlantic Ocean, in this case, because I was addressing that for any kinds of ocean, or the ocean as an overarching term, sue the states for the effects of climate change pollution on the marine environment? So I started from these topics and questions, and I applied these specifically to the concept of the ocean. That's why I narrow it down to ocean rights, so the rights of the oceans. I know that the next steps and the next slides will be quite technical, but I promise that I will take it step by step, and I'll try to make it as simple as possible. If you have questions, we can address them at the end of the presentation. But there we go. First of all, what are the rights of nature and ocean rights? I'm sure that each of us has a different understanding of nature. The one that is dominant at the moment is an anthropocentric view. At least it's dominant within the international legal system and the UN system. So the UN, the international legal regime, sees nature as something to be owned, exploited as a resource. Of course, this has to be done sustainably and under specific rules for the protection of nature, for the protection of the ocean. But this is under the umbrella, under the view that we are separate as humans, we are separate to nature. And it's something that we govern and something that we own. And this view is specifically embedded in the United Nations Conventions for the Law of the Sea that we can find in the preamble. The preamble is the introduction to a legal document. So now I'm using some difficult words, but I'm sure I'm trying to do my best to make it easy. But essentially, what we have now, it's under an anthropocentric view, completely different from what I want to, the way I, for example, see nature, which is something that we are part of nature. We are all part of the same ecosystem. We are all part of the same entity. And as we are all part of the same concept of nature, then we all have the same rights. For example, the Ecuadorian constitution protects Mother Earth, Pachamama, as the entity that generates everything, and everything is interconnected. So there's no difference between humans and nature, because we're all part of the same ecosystem. And as we serve nature, nature serves humans, because we are all together. And this applies specifically in my research to the ocean rights. So this means that I, in my presentation, and some scholars in the legal subject, in the legal topic, see the oceans as an entity with inherent values and inherent rights. So nature has rights because inherently it's really important, and we're all part of the same ecosystem. So my question is, but what if we apply this to the international legal existing regime? Because then if we do apply this to the convention of or the law of the sea, then we need to change how we protect nature, because now we are protecting nature because we see it as a resource to be exploited. But then if we need to protect nature because nature and the oceans, they have rights, then the states have stronger obligations to protect the oceans. And this is exactly what I'm trying to learn now. It is a very difficult logical legal passage that took me, I'm not joking, 8 years of studies. So if it's not easy for you now, it's completely understandable, because it took me a bachelor, another master's, and then another master's degree to arrive to this research. So it's completely fine if it's a bit complicated now. But the thing is that at the moment, the states have an obligation of conduct to protect the environment and the oceans, which means that anything that it's evaluated, it's only their behavior, not the result that they achieve. So for example, they need to protect and preserve the marine environment, but the achievement and the results of their behaviors, it's not what it is evaluated. It is evaluated that they adopt all the available measures that they have to protect the oceans. But then if the ocean is still severely degraded, that's not a thing that it's actually up to the states, because there are many factors that may influence the outcome of a state. And this is what creates an intense gap, a huge gap between the law and what happens in real life, because we see that states, let's say that overall they comply and they follow the rules, but then science says that the oceans is clearly suffering from climate change pollution, from emission of greenhouse gases, and all the activities, human activities happening at sea. So to address this gap, my research advances the possibility to read the law under the ocean rights concept. So what if include the rights of the ocean in the existing law, so we can change the perspective of the state's obligation. So in this case, the states need to protect the oceans, not as a resource, but as an entity entitled to the right of existence, for example. Okay, so this was very technical. And to finish, again, we have a standard to check the behavior of states now. And my research would focus on what the ocean actually needs. So we need to protect the oceans because they have rights, inherent rights and values. Yash, thank you for your question, but I'm taking it at the end of the call, but thank you so much. Okay, so this is my research. I hope you find it a bit interesting. I am actually loving it. So yeah, if you have any questions, I can answer them at the end. So then now my presentation goes to why you don't need a STEM career or a STEM background to build a career for the planet, for sustainability. First thing first, don't get me wrong, science is crucial, is fundamental. It's what actually brings us what is happening now with nature and the ocean. So it is vital. It plays a vital role to understand what's happening and why this is happening and why this is important. Why, for example, climate change is particularly affecting the oceans. But my belief is that once we have the science knowledge, then we need to take action. And this, in order to make this, we need to have active people, governments, and policymakers. And this opens the door to a range of careers that not necessarily have a STEM background. For example, I don't have a STEM background, and I'm completing this research at the moment. Maybe in the future, it will be taken by an attorney or a professor, and it will be developed even more. So then it can enter the environmental law regime and change how the states need actually to protect the environment. So this is a call to action to all of you, that if you don't like math, if you don't like STEM sciences and subjects, you can definitely protect the oceans from a different perspective, and the ocean needs advocates, and you could be the next one. For example, you can be a teacher, you can be an attorney, you can protect the oceans from different, you can be even an activist, and protest against the governments, for example. So there are many pathways that you can take to protect the oceans, and this is a call to action for you guys to do that. Let me go to the next step. So why do I work for the Earth Foundation? I love making research. I think it's so inspiring. And as I said before, I love to feel my brain tired for the amount of information that I read in a day. But at some point, I really want to make something tangible and something concrete, and give opportunity to people that have amazing ideas, but maybe don't have a platform where to develop them. I really cherish the possibility to communicate with inspired people and young minds that have lateral thinking, so they can see an opportunity where someone else might see an impossible problem. And I think this is the place that the Earth Foundation really help people to develop this opportunity. So we have an amazing community. We have people with amazing talents and maybe don't have the exact place where develop and implement their ideas. So from the very beginning, I saw the Earth Foundation as a huge opportunity for young people and for myself too. It is very tough at the times because working for a non-for-profit might be very exhausting at some point, but I am extremely happy. I think this is something that maybe for whoever wants to join the non-for-profit sector, it is a lot of fun. It is so inspiring and challenging and so much fun. And I learn a lot from very young people every day, but sometimes can be tiring. So you really need to like it. But I promise this has been an amazing experience so far. So thank you, everyone. And then how did I get here? Well, first of all, a lot of work and commitment behind. It might be easy to juggle, I don't know, between work and studies, but it is not. You really need to have first of all passion for what you're doing and commitment, because otherwise it is really easy to give it up and let it go. So if you love what you're doing, you just need to stick to it. Someday you're gonna cry, the next day you're gonna be extremely proud of
I
yourself.
want to say something. I want to say that uh, like 10 to 20 minutes wasted in that stuff, like our class and some pupils enter it. And now the timing of ending this class is near. So I want to ask, can we extend it?
This one, we're
Yep.
gonna share the recording in case you want to check the end.
Okay. Thank-
Okay. Anyways, what I was saying is that if you love what you're doing, well, then it's the right path, but you need to really feel that this is the right path for you, even when it's difficult. Because if it's difficult and then you don't like it, then it's a complete mess and it's going to be extremely hard. So, a lot of work and commitment behind, but then what really helped me was to have amazing people around to support me and to really appreciate what I'm doing. I have an amazing team in Geneva. I mean, we gathered in Geneva in April, and I'm very grateful for the people that I met there. But I have family and friends and my boyfriend that always supported me. And this is the one of the most important things that you need to have to succeed in your life. Um, I mean, my path is still very long, hopefully, but I feel very happy now from what I have achieved so far. And this is also because of the people that I have around. So, this is the end of my presentation, and I really thank each of you for joining. And I guess then we can open the Q&A session at the moment.
stay in touch with us. Join our Discord as well, where we're all hanging out. Like Margaret said, not 24 hours, but 24/7, but often. So join us there, and we'll see you soon.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so
Thank you for
much.
joining.